Now I'm gonna be honest here. I'm recording this video a few days in advance because the entire topic and how we can present this video in this way is so great, but because there are so many other things that I wanted to talk about and schedule over the next few days, this video here is being recorded on the night of Friday, October 20th. It's not going to be up on YouTube until maybe tomorrow, I guess. We can move things around. And the way we're talking about this player and his relationship with the rest of the league's players that he is in with is a little bit different because we are talking today about the OHL. And one particular team in the OHL, the Kitchener Rangers. You see, the Rangers have a game tomorrow on Saturday, October 21st, against the Mississauga Steelheads. So all the information, all the stats, all the numbers may be outdated by the time this video is public on YouTube, but it's mostly because this in itself is a Vancouver Canucks related topic, and there are a few other Canucks related things that I wanted to talk about on the channel before diving into this player right here. Let's talk today about one of the most underrated Canucks prospects in the system right now, Hunter Brzustewicz. Now, if you've been following the channel, you probably would have seen when we initially talked about Brzustewicz upon his draft selection by the Vancouver Canucks. You would have also seen the video we made in the summer asking what exactly Vancouver has here in this prospect. Well, if you wanted the rundown once more, Hunter Brzustewicz is a 2004 November-born right-handed defenseman. He's 18 years old, 6 feet, 190 pounds. Taken by the Canucks in the 75th overall spot in the third round, this was seen as a very good value pickup because many scouts went out there and said that Brzustewicz could have been a second-round guy. EP, future considerations, Mackenzie, they'll had him in the 50s range, McKeans and Button had him in the 60s, and he dropped all the way to number 75, so Vancouver snagged him up. He had 57 points in 68 games played in the OHL last year, one of the top players for draft-eligible skaters in the league that season, and I think he was first for D-men. Don't quote me on that, I think he was. But he was still a very good player, a guy who had a really interesting kind of ability to move the puck up the ice, deceive opponents, and just make the right plays. We had talked about this and more in the video a few months ago saying, hey, what could we see out of this guy? What's the prospect profile here? But today we're talking about Brzustewicz once more because on the night of October 19th, Thursday, you had yourselves what was a very great showcase for Canucks fans in the OHL in regards to Brzustewicz. He scored 3 points. And it gets even crazier because the next night, Friday, October 20th, against Owen Sound Attack, Hunter Brzustewicz had another 3 points. Add to this the 2 prior games in his schedule wherein he got 3 points each, and Hunter Brzustewicz is legitimately out here with 4 straight 3-point games. 12 points, 4 games played. He has been dominating the OHL the past few days here. And because of this, you had yourselves a brief period of time on the night of October 19th when Hunter Brzustewicz was literally first in the entire OHL in points. Not for just defenders, not for just 18-year-olds, but for everybody, period. Here's an article published by Daniel Wagner on the night of Brzustewicz' third 3-point game in a row. In his first game of the OHL season, Brzustewicz was held off the score sheet. Since then, he has had 16 points in 7 games, including 3 straight 3-point games in the past week. That scoring flurry has Brzustewicz tied for the scoring lead in the OHL. And let's not forget, he is a defenseman. Now, later in that same night of October 19th, you had Luke Misa go out there and post up a bunch of points himself, projecting him all the way up to number 1. So by the end of the night on Thursday, if you looked at Brzustewicz and his overall point production, he was tied for first with a bunch of other players with 16 points in 8 games played. He was first in the OHL in assists, which is great considering he's a defenseman who's only 18 years old. And all these other guys who are overagers, some of these guys are also drafted, most of them undrafted though, you had Brzustewicz beating them all out in point production. And if you take a look at how exactly he's getting these points, he's doing a pretty good job at just doing what it is that we thought he'd be able to do. In the video a few months ago, we said, hey, Brzustewicz is really good at just deceiving opponents with the way he opens his shoulders, with the way he kind of twitches his hands when he's holding onto the puck, and how he's able to make other people think he's going one way before passing the puck the opposite way. This is why he's able to create so much space, and he's got some pretty good finishers on his team in Kitchener, so it's a pretty good bet if he sends a really nice pass that is deceptive over to the top scorers on his team. Adrian Misaljevic, Carlsson, Revkov, these guys are great scorers, and even though Brzustewicz is kind of in that position where not every point he's getting is a primary point, there are a few secondary assists there where he was just kind of the last guy to touch it before it was sent around for a backdoor pass. He's still putting himself in these spots, and with the 4 goals he's got in the season too, he's putting himself in great areas to just get those one-timers and be a threat on these goaltenders. And then of course, the day after, he scored another 3 points, bringing himself back up to the scoring lead and taking over the first overall spot. Here's a tweet made by Daniel G. Hunter Brzustewicz is on a tear right now, another 3 points tonight. He has 19 points in 9 games this season, leading the OHL in points. He's still got things to clean up in the defensive end, and his skating will need to evolve, but this is remarkable so far. Stephen Ellis of Daily Faceoff went out there and said that Brzustewicz is bound to regress, but between the start of the OHL season and the World Junior Summer Showcase, Hunter Brzustewicz has been on quite the rampage. He is first in the OHL in points once again. If you look at the 19 points in 9 games played, obviously that's over a double point per game. He's on pace for 140-something points in the span of 68 games. I'm not really going to say that Brzustewicz is going to get that. I mean, of course, he had 3 points in 4 straight games, so who knows what the ceiling is here? But by the time this video is up on YouTube, the stats and all the numbers are going to be different. Who knows? At the time of me recording this audio, Brzustewicz is at this amount of points. The Rangers played the Mississauga Steelheads later, so who knows how that's going to influence the way these points line up. But for a brief period of time, even if it's just for a night, in the middle of October, we had ourselves a prospect that was the #1 OHL point producer, period. As an 18-year-old, as a defender, he was the best in the league. And that right there is exciting, because Brzustewicz has this really great offensive ceiling that I don't think a lot of people expected to really be there when he was initially drafted. These skills of deception, squeaking into the right areas, and just moving the puck up properly, making the right plays, and not really making too many mistakes, these are great qualities to have, and they're NHL projectable qualities. Brzustewicz is a gamer. He moves, he makes passes, he makes reads. He does a lot of good things that NHL scouts could probably value, which is why the Vancouver Canucks taking him in the 3rd round and seeing these types of talents, it's a pretty good thing. And for now, I mean, the Vancouver Canucks have themselves a guy that you could very well say is an underrated prospect based off of how he's been producing and how everything's gone for him post-draft. The draft was just a few months ago. This guy recently turned 18, or he turned 18 last year in November. He's turning 19, actually. He was one of the older players in the 2023 draft. But still, top of the OHL in points, even if it was for just a brief moment before being dethroned by Luke Misa, that's a pretty good bet. And I think for a lot of Canucks fans, we didn't really expect this out of a guy who was drafted in the 3rd round, let alone a guy in the Vancouver system in general. When was the last time the Canucks had a legit defensive prospect that was scoring the lights out like crazy in his league that was not named Quinn Hughes? You can't go back and say Olli Juolevi. That guy didn't do that at all. So who was it? The last Canucks defenseman prospect to really light up his league in points. Was it Jordan Subban? Was it Jack Rathbone? Jet Wu? I mean, yeah, it's a little depressing taking a look at who's who, but Hunter Brzustewicz hopefully is going to nip that trend in the bud and continue forward with better Canucks prospect talk over the next few months and maybe even years. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Hunter Brzustewicz being that guy? Being that good and being near the top of the OHL in points. If you're a Canucks fan, thoughts on how this guy's going to project into the future. If you're a Kitchener Rangers fan, what are your thoughts on how he's been playing for your team so far? Are the points a fluke? Is he being carried? If you look on Twitter, the clips of him getting those points are right there. So if you want to judge as to whether or not that is the case, feel free to do so. But for now, Canucks fans, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Hunter Brzustewicz as a prospect. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.